Is she really?
Yeah, she did that because she put a line up for guys who was like,
Okay, well, I mean, it's, you can't, it.
So anyway, I was pissed about that person said. She said it was gone all of it. All of it.
I think it was it.
Okay.
Is that the senior?
Oh, wow. Wow.
They are, little by little.
Yeah. But I mean, they're just trying to, we get a false story out there. They don't hear.
Construction.
You know, we don't have minutes. Did I not get those printed off?
Yep.
I just
Thank you.
noticed that. Yeah, 5 minutes.
Go some more trees. Sparkle.
Hi, how are you?
Okay.
She said 925.
Wow.
You those guys that see out there in the cold? I see those guys out there, the winds are blowing and they're all.
You made it.
Man.
I know, that's what I said.
I'm just watching you eat my work sandwich.
Yeah, things changed. It was a whole.
We can catch it all.
Okay, changed on the other side, you just, I mean, you didn't wanna, you didn't have to change that for this.
No,
Okay.
it was all.
Well, good.
Blue water.
Now it's just.
So.
You're not going through this. I'd like to do that. I have, like, all. I can always take this.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it was approved. According to Karen's review.
But it's gonna be the guys. It really is. You know, this is the way they're going.
Yeah, I think we can do that one.
Everybody get warm?
Ridiculous.
May
May 15th. Yeah, we,
I know, I
we,
keep getting teased.
I was supposed to try that appointment. If I got a hold of all.
I wonder if it's something to do with the lake. I mean, maybe even exceptionally cold or something. Yeah, it's, you know. But you know, I think we pay for it now. I think it's almost warmer in the fall because of, you know, so we pay the price now for benefit in fall. But he's not a trees.
No.
I just talked to a buddy, drove back from Tennessee, he says, you get to about Monroe and even they look so much different out there. So they're all out, bloom, and look like the green should be showing up this time of year.
Oh, we were just in Ann Arbor last weekend, Ann Arbor's all green.
That's what I heard.
Even
Tommy said
now,
you're gonna work with the
they're-
state.
Yeah.
I heard it. Oh, what are you gonna do?
I almost was last week.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Just in the nick of time. Oh, it was February? Right?
But,
We didn't even merge.
March or April?
That's
Really?
I think we had a
I thought
lot.
we only missed one.
No, we didn't have eight.
not true.
Nope. You weren't here, so.
This is no sleep.
We know.
Yeah, I.
Plants. I put them under ground dock, put them under there. I brought them in the other day. It's getting too cold for them.
Farm lunch. Okay.
You got shoved to the wall.
Is that my cue? Is that your alarm to be somewhere?
Gotta go.
Okay,
Gotta do
we'll
something,
use
but I'm
that
not-
as our cue.
I'm not home, so I'm not gonna do it.
We'll use that as our cue to call the meeting to order, please. And we can rise for pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mike, can you do roll call for us, please?
Stephen Petro. Here. Mark Kovac.
Here.
Sherry Faust.
Here.
Mike Batchelor.
Here.
Trustee John Reno. Here. Laura. Hopia.
All right, thank you. And you have tonight's agenda. As you Wednesday, May 13th. Shifted to the night to accommodate our claims for tomorrow night. So I'll entertain a motion to approve this.
Leave the motion.
Laura, any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. Approval of the minutes were handed to you tonight. On Thursday, February 12th.
I'll make the motion they be approved as presented.
I'll support.
John. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. On to public comment for non-agenda items. If you'd like to speak, we ask that you restrict it to 4 minutes. Please state your name and state your address. Anybody here for public comment tonight?
Carol Miller, and everybody in the township knows where I live. Couple questions. Number one, the meeting minutes. You guys were commenting before you started that you hadn't had a couple meetings. The meeting minutes per the Open Meetings Act can be put out publicly as long as they say draft after so many days of the meeting, if you know you're going to be canceling the meeting. So a lot of my questions that I have are based on me missing a meeting and then you guys missing a couple meetings. So back in October of 2025 meeting, you approved the gravel emergency egress per fire department approval for Interstate Capital's building. I want to know where that stands, just for the fact being in the medical field. To me, when you say emergency, it means safety of everybody, people inside the building, people outside the building. I know if you have a gravel egress area, you have somebody inside that's having a cardiac event and they're doing CPR. They come out and there's any gravel that has to be run over. You don't want to be doing CPR on a person with gravel. Also, we just bought a $1 million fire truck. And when they put their arms down, if there's any gravel where they have to get near that building to put that fire out, you're looking at damaging not only the fire truck, but you're looking at the safety of your firefighters. I also don't know how much information you dug up on Interstate Capital, but I do my due diligence, and they had $45 million of tax abatements given to them so far. Their AUM right now is $140.5 million. I think they can afford to pave the parking lot all the way. The other thing is when you do your due diligence on there, take a look at the other two places they have. They've got one in Marysville and they've got one now in Kimball Township. They're giving Kimball Township parks and trails and all this other stuff. They're going to be asking you for tax credits, tax abatements, brownfields, all this stuff. So we're getting the shaft over here. So please do your due diligence on that. Also, one other thing that's been bothering me is at the November 13, 2025 meeting, I was kind of taken back because, Steve, I don't know if it was you that brought it up or what, but the overnight, one-night parking RV place on Range, they didn't have 3 things approved, yet they were still operating. And I was kind of taken back that nobody on the Planning Commission said anything other than him. So then the guy from the motorcycle place, he was having a hard time because of driveway or lighting or something like that. He's not operating. He's got a beautiful place. I've driven by it several times. It's beautiful. So I don't understand how things can be, okay, we're going to approve it pending this. I think in my mind, that's wrong. It should be, you're going to do this and you're going to present it. If they need to present, then don't cancel the meeting, have the meeting. If you've already canceled the meeting, reopen the meeting. But those are things that I don't understand, and I'm trying to learn all the functions of the government in our township. But if anybody can answer those questions, I greatly appreciate it. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Carol.
I can answer one question.
We'll just continue public comment though. Anybody else with public comment? Right, we can just go on though.
You can
ask a
you
question?
can answer in correspondence if you want. I'm good with that.
If you,
I live in the township.
yeah, just if you could introduce
So
your
my name's
name and
Grace. I
your
live on
address.
I just witnessed a car chase down my road, literally pulling in here. So mind you, I'm still kind of trying to leave my driveway. Okay, so what I've noticed down that with this township and stuff, why aren't we more transparent on when these meetings are happening and why can't we have it online? Because I do work over 50 hours a week, and it's hard for me to get here, especially when I'm up at 6 a.m. and not coming home until 8 a.m. So it would be really easier for all these meetings would be really transparent and not online, and put online. We use AI for everything. We have Facebook Live, we have TikTok Live. My generation, I'm almost 30 years old, my generation lives on technology, so why aren't we upgrading these meetings so everybody has access, including the ones that live in nursing homes, who needs help with assistance when they're not able to leave the house? I'm 29 years old. I can put my phone on the stand and have these in the room so everybody can see it. So why is it the planning meeting, your guys is doing it? Why is it none of the township doing this? Why are we not using our technology? You guys have the money for it. You have money for $1 million fire department. We fund a lot of things for the community. Why aren't we funding for this? I mean, last year alone, we put cameras in the buildings in the fire department for $10,000. Is the last meeting I went to. So why aren't we putting it online for everybody to see in our community? Just make it more transparent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, can I mention one more thing? I forgot I had it on my list. At one of the meetings last year, you guys were talking about the Dollar General going up on the corner of Michigan and Lapeer. I asked Karen right after she came if you guys had discussed, because I missed a lot of your meetings, if you had discussed widening of that intersection there going up Michigan, because that's where they turn in. And she said it was before her time, so she didn't know. That's fine. But just so you know, I know, John, you guys brought it up about, I think Mr. Dudas brought it up about having a crosswalk over there. Just so you know, I live up at the top of the hill. I had to wait through 1.5 lights for a person walking along the side of the road to go to the Dollar General, and I held up a lot of cars to turn just due to the fact one person walking up there, I would have killed them. So I don't know what can be done. Even the road design coming down, the road starts splitting right at where the kids' bus stop is, and you're going to have an accident there or a kid killed. So I just ask if you guys are doing something again, just take into all the considerations. Ask us in the neighborhoods, things like that. Start looking at more things, because I'm waiting for someone to get killed. I really am. So, John, that might be something you might want to take back to the board. So, and the road's still tore up there where they split it apart. So it's getting worse. So thank you.
Anybody else for public comment tonight? Okay, thank you. Number 7 on the agenda, public hearing, we have none, and old business, we also have none, so we'll move on to new business. And we have a proposed lot split tonight. We have that in your agenda packet. I'll read that here. Proposed lot split 74-28-825-0043-000 into 3 lots. 2 at 12,000 square feet with frontage of 80 feet and depth of 150 feet. The remaining lot being 187,308 square feet with a frontage of 170 feet and a depth of 640.83 feet. Karen, you reviewed this.
Yeah.
Your recommendation is in the packet. Is there anything you want to mention?
No, I'm
about this?
just gonna say it's located in the R1 district, and with the proposed lot split they presented, it meets the district requirements as well as the requirements of the township for the land division, so I would recommend approval of the applicant's application.
Is someone here tonight with your guys' family or representing this lot split? What is the favor of the commission? Any thoughts or discussion?
Madam Chairman, it meets all the requirements. I'll make a motion that the lot split be approved.
Thank you, John. Mark. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. And also our final new business for the evening, Township Board has requested a recommendation of a 1-year moratorium for data centers in the Charter Township of Fort Huron. When our agenda packet came out, we have a proposed ordinance number 257, temporary moratorium on data centers. Then about a week later, we also received another example, I guess we would call it, example board resolution for enacting a moratorium on data center development. So that's also included in your packet tonight. Mike, do you wanna just explain to us where the township, board sits as far as this, proposed ordinance and then what you're looking for action for tonight would be for us to recommend this to go to the board, is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay. And, where did this sample language for this ordinance come from, Mike? Do you know that, or, maybe Karen, you pulled this?
I got it
or-
from Mr. John.
Okay,
They had some, they had some input from the attorney, they got a lot of information from the MTA.
okay,
Dawn gave us a copy of what Kimball had,
okay,
so I don't know if there's any verbatim stuff in here, but they did select a lot of data from
okay,
other models to create this.
okay.
What this will do is just give us time
Mm-hmm.
to create an ordinance that data, I mean, they weren't around when we did our versions.
Mm-hmm.
But by putting this moratorium out there, we can get all the facts and create the ordinances.
And just truly fully understand the impact environmentally, infrastructure
Yeah, I mean,
wise,
there's,
zoning wise, legal wise, all of that. And the timing is coincidental that we have a training session tomorrow on data centers too, so we'll know a lot more going forward after tomorrow. Okay, so based on what you have in front of you, I will entertain a motion to approve this moving forward to the township. Is that the motion that we wanna make?
I'll make that motion. For this moratorium of the 12-month
Okay.
delay of processing on the applications.
Is there a second?
I'll support that.
Okay. Laura made the motion, Mark supported, motion on the table, is there any further discussion?
the only other thing, and maybe Karen can answer that. What, I know there's a thing out there they call Bitcoin mining. Is that part of a data thing? Would that be?
It could, it could be a very similar, facility. So they are similar, they could be vastly different though in size. If that's a concern for the township as well, you can make sure that's included in whatever regulations you do come up with. Because ultimately, the way a lot of communities are approaching a data center is understanding this is a facility that has a high demand for resources, and that is going to have a significant impact. And a Bitcoin mining thing could be similar. There was talks of those for a while, and they're still out there, but I think the main focus is data centers. But you could make sure whatever you come up with would include a facility like that.
I guess my concern would be, do we include that with this moratorium? I mean, we're spelling out data centers, but could the wording with data centers include Bitcoin usage?
I didn't see that in any of the research that I did, that was bundled together,
I just
so we
know that-
might wanna mention that separately.
Because I just know they take a lot of electricity.
The term that I have seen is data centers in high energy demand or high resource demand facilities. And I mean, some people mine for Bitcoin out of their house, and
They could, I mean, I'm
but
sure
if it's at a larger scale, could be quite large, could be similar. So if you want to have that extra language in there, you could. I do think the primary concern is data centers because a lot of these applications and state incentives for these facilities have popped up. And so it's a big issue facing all communities right now in Michigan.
I know the Trump administration has proposed, I think it's a proposal, maybe it was just put in, but because of the high demand for energy, it was proposed that the energy centers themselves can produce their own energy. You know, not be so dependent on whatever the public energy would be. So that that changes a lot of things, I think, where they can produce their own energy and possibly sell that energy.
It could, unless, we just had in our state, a lot of pushback for having solar, wind, and battery storage. You guys currently don't have ordinances on those at all. So there's some communities I'm working with where, it's like, do you want, there's a lot of hesitation in trying to work out how that community can handle it. And then with the extra layer of, now we have data centers, do you want to allow them to do it when there's already, concerns about having those kind of facilities in the first place, the energy facilities. So it is something, if, I'll be brief because I know you guys are going to have your training session. If you start doing research on what is out there about data centers, what are model ordinances, what have other communities come up with, you're going to run into a lot of things from other states. And in other states, planning and zoning is different. There's more maybe state control, more county control, less control from the municipalities. So you'll find a lot of model ordinances from counties in places like Pennsylvania or Ohio or stuff like that. And I'm sorry, where was I going with this? Well, I'm sorry, what was your question again?
Well, that,
The solar and wind.
well, I don't even know if they even talk.
The renewable energy that could be
I don't even know if
tied.
it's tied to renewable. I think they could make the energy no matter how
They could have a transformer, they could
Yeah.
put that up as well.
on a
But a
small
lot
scale.
of, there's a push, you'll see in model ordinances, you have solar panels, you have all this stuff, because chances are if a data center is going up, they're gonna be building their own transformer. They're not gonna be relying on this, because
Right.
the energy is just going to be so high. And in order for the Public Service Commission to entertain granting them allowances to move forward with their projects, they're gonna have to build, to a certain extent, their own utility equipment, including transformers, substations, what have you. There's a push from other places, other states, they want to rely on battery storage and other things to decrease the demand on the local grid. But that's a whole other animal in itself. And so it's just something to think about, because you're probably gonna hear your training session. So just that will be an option you may see. You as the township are gonna have to decide how you want to approach it.
And I don't think we have to decide tonight how we approach
No.
it, we just have to decide
Just
on this
be aware, you're
language
gonna see,
tonight.
you're gonna see a lot of stuff, you're gonna see ordinances that are 50 pages long. And they're coming from elsewhere that might just have a different situation going on. And I think a lot of people are also looking at what was taken into account for the whole renewable energy thing. Because basically Michigan Public Service Commission told communities, hey, if you wanna do that review for us, we'll give you a financial incentive and you can follow our rules, which is, very long. And so I think a lot of people borrowed language from that, but at least at this point, from our understanding with data centers, EGLE's involved, Public Service Commission's involved, DTE's involved, there's a lot of other stuff happening and a lot of other agencies at play. So then it's kind of the community finding out what's truly in our power to regulate and how do we handle this to protect our community. And that's the tricky thing all communities are trying to figure out right now.
So going back to John's question with the Bitcoin mining, if somebody were to come in with an application, they wanna use a piece of land for Bitcoin mining, we don't have an ordinance, where does that go?
Well,
We
you don't
don't have
have
a
an
moratorium.
ordinance and you don't have it listed as a use anywhere right now.
That's the.
So in all your zoning districts, you have a description of what is allowed, because you do allow for other similar uses. So then you have to determine, based on what they're proposing and what they claim their operations are gonna be, would that fit in this district? And the answer may be yes, maybe no, if they can't answer a lot of these questions. And a lot of these similar use stuff, I think it does fall under your special land use, so that gives you a little bit more leeway. Again, if this is a major concern and you feel that you're also gonna be approached, and this is also something we don't know how to handle at the moment, or we don't have anything on the books to handle it right now, there's no harm in adding that. Get legal counsel's, ask legal counsel what they think of having that added thing in there, so all the bases are covered, if that's a concern.
I guess my concern would be if in residential areas, I know, somebody could set one up in the garage and do it, but I know it, again, like I know they generate a lot of heat, and yet, and so they have fans running, exhaust fans running 24/7 and stuff like that. I don't know where if the noise ordinance takes care of that.
Well, it depends what district you're in.
That's what I mean.
All your commercial districts have performance standards they must follow. They have the district standards they must follow. So it's not like it's completely wild and they can do whatever they want. But the only language that you have in there, you have in your office district, you do allow for data processing. And I think, however that was worded, it was a different time thinking of something different.
Right. I mean,
But now that language could be construed to mean something else. Your office district still has regulations, stuff has to be enclosed, they still have to meet certain performance standards. And I'm not quite sure how big your office district's. It's the blue.
I want to say it's just up here.
It's just on up here. It's a small segment. And that's the only place where I think someone could look at your ordinance right now and say, hey, maybe this could work here. They still have to come before you guys. And you guys would have to make a determination if it meets the requirements. And because it's something ambiguous like that you don't really have a set of standards for, it's not listed out as a permitted use. It's not like it's you allow retail and a retailer comes in, a Hallmark or whatever, and you deny it. You're like, well, not that kind of retail. It's just like, it's a retailer. It's something that's not specifically called out. So I think, if it's a concern, I would say talk to legal counsel and see if that could be added in there.
Well, we have a motion on the table. I don't remember who made the motion and who seconded it at this point, but would you like to retract your motion? Do we want to modify the motion?
Well, would that be something you could just have a separate?
I think we would have modified the
or would we
motion.
do it?
Modify the motion to say that we want to include something. Would anybody like to propose a modified motion? To add the Bitcoin mining or data processing. John, what's your thought?
I think if you just amend the motion, or if you vote this one down, make another one, either one.
I think we need to get this one down.
But you can, if you can't approve that we're gonna send this to the township without adding that, then go ahead.
Right.
You can either amend your motion to include adding the terminology Bitcoin and data center. And then if this person that's seconded it agrees with that, then you can move on.
Or did you make that motion?
I have a motion to do it as a.
Okay. I don't remember who seconded. Okay. Do you want to keep your?
You're gonna add the,
I mean,
not as written, but add the
I think I have no choice.
terminology of Bitcoin. That's what.
I don't think we need it, because based
Okay.
on what she's saying, it's, if it comes
She-
before
yeah,
us,
she
you
do.
still
Yeah, she
don't
do.
have to approve it.
So
Yes,
Laura's
she did.
motion stands that she wants to approve as presented. Do you want to keep your second or reject your support?
Is there an issue with just having a second motion to, a second resolution for the other two aspects?
The motion isn't changed.
I know, but I'm saying, can we do that also, in addition to this?
I think you gotta deal with this motion. Either it gets voted approved or it gets voted down.
If nobody approves it, then we move
Then we need a new motion.
on.
But But there is a motion on the table, could you support that? So would you like to, after our discussion though, you have a chance to retract your motion, your support?
It seems that the Bitcoin mining, if it's a large scale, it's just, I mean, it's the same type of energy usage. So it seemed like that would be something that should be considered. I'd like to have that added in there.
Okay,
So I guess that would mean that I would withdraw.
you withdraw your support, okay. Is there anybody that would, well, we could take, is there anybody that would like to support the motion that's on the table? Yes. Any support for that? Okay, it looks like there's no support, so, that motion comes off the table. Would anyone like to propose a new motion? I would for a new motion.
Make a motion that the terminology data be added to the data center to include Bitcoin and what was the other terminology?
Data
high,
processing.
well, data processing is part of data center, but, I would say high energy demand facility. That is a term that a lot of communities are adopting.
Okay.
Thinking about future-proofing what happens after data centers.
That terminology covers other things that would be high energy,
Right.
such as,
Could you use the terminology Bitcoin and high energy?
Yeah, you can put however many things you want.
You get all that?
Can you state that again? Please, John. The Bitcoin mining and what was the high energy demand
Right.
facilities,
facilities? Okay.
facilities, would that be?
High energy use facilities, I guess.
Say high energy use, high energy demand.
Demand use facility?
I'm sure legal will put the right terminology, but just so it's included in there.
Okay. Okay, there's a motion on the table. Is there support for that?
I'll support.
All right, thank you, Mike. Any discussion?
How will they define high energy? Just curious, what?
I've seen one community list the consumption of energy, whether it's in like kilowatts or megawatts. They list both a electric and water consumption rate. I don't have the numbers offhand. I believe it was some community in Oakland County. They're drafting something, but that was the first case where I saw someone define a threshold for what would meet this capacity. So there are definitions and terms out there that put thresholds on. If you're reaching this, then you're considered to be put into this category of a high demand energy facility.
Mm-hmm. Any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion, we have support. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, everybody. I'm comfortable with it. I feel like it gives us some guardrails in place, temporary guardrails in place while we figure this out. So. Thanks to everybody that contributed to providing templates and language and research on that. I just have a question, like for the 12-month period, like what will that entail for us? What will that look like for us as far as becoming educated, gathering information, studies? How do you see that 12 months unfolding?
Well, we have this training session tomorrow, so that'll be a good kickoff. I'd say we're going to be looking at, U of M and other places have come up with kind of guides of what local communities should be looking at. As of being your planner, I have continuing education classes I am required to take to maintain my certification, and we just had a data center class, and there was a talk from a planner from Wisconsin, And I thought it was really interesting, and Wisconsin is similar to Michigan. But basically, he's the planner for Steam, Wisconsin. They have a Microsoft data center and a Foxconn data center there. They came in probably the last 6 years, I think. And he basically talked about what that process was like and what happened. He recommended look at your current ordinance. Where would something like this be allowed? There's some communities that don't have industrial districts, so a lot of agricultural, possibly residential land is looked at for these uses. You guys have industrial districts, you have commercial districts, but this truly is an industrial use, I would recommend this probably is going to be most appropriate in your heavy industrial use. So what regulations can we craft for something like that where, this is something that you can't prohibit in your community, but where would it be most appropriate? And what regulations can we put on it to make sure that it's protecting, the community? And also taking into consideration, you do have a lot of residential use in your industrial districts. So how do we want to handle that? This might, aside from just making regulations for this, you might want to tweak the regulations that you currently already have. You guys have pretty standard performance standards. Again, as someone who looks at zoning ordinances all over Metro Detroit, the performance standards you have are pretty standard. They're what a lot of communities have, a lot of communities that maybe a bit more dense have as well. So we might be tweaking our performance standards. We might be making extra regulations for stuff like being more dark sky friendly, because at the class I took, the planner just said, FYI, the security details on these facilities are massive. They're going to be lit up like a stadium 24/7. So look at your ordinance, figure out what you can do to mitigate that impact. And so having ordinances that regulate what I think right now you do require a photometric plan, you have foot candle levels, but you can do more stuff. You can require, hey, things can only be at these certain, how do they call it? Kelvin levels or light levels. It's more, some people, you have like a paragraph or two. Some communities have like a couple pages about their lighting ordinances. You guys might want to consider stuff like that. But so we're probably going to be not just making regulations for this use, we might be tweaking a bunch of other uses and also taking into consideration, this won't just apply to the data center, this will apply to other industrial uses as well, because this is ultimately going to affect the whole industrial district you choose to put it in. And also keeping in mind, stuff about regulating, you can regulate how big these buildings are potentially, you can regulate what size of land it can be on. Some communities require, hey, it's got to be on a land at least this acreage, which is something that you do require for other uses. And that's another thing you have to look at. What are we requiring of other industrial uses? Because if you're only, you guys don't do this, but in theory, if you only have 3 regulations for most industrial uses, and then you come up with 103 for this use, well, that's a problem. So, it's kind of keeping consistent what you have, beefing up what you have, so you are not just protecting your community from this use, but maybe other potential uses that could be similar. And trying to, the public's going to have a lot of questions. They're going to have concerns about, the noise, the vibrations, how's this going to impact my life when I come home? Or I work here, how's that going to impact it? I hear all the time, what's this all going to mean? Being able to communicate, because they're going to see regulations for a data center that are specific to the data center and not necessarily talking about those things. I think as long as we're able to communicate, these are covered in these other sections, that will help answer some of those questions. I had that issue in another community where we have all these performance standards, we have all this, we came up with our data center regulations, and we're still reviewing it, but a concern was, well, you're not talking about sound or odor or emissions or stuff like this. And we had to tell them, it's already covered in these parts. And they said, oh, I wish I had known that, because I was getting really worried thinking that you guys just didn't cover this at all. Because a lot of times ordinances are broken up into pieces and sections covering performance standards, landscaping, and other parts. So it will be a long process. We're probably going to have to get a lot of legal's advice because there's regulations we come up with. We think they're a great idea. We get legal to run by, and they might give us a reason why that could be complicated, either how we worded it or whatever. So we are going to need the township attorney to weigh in, probably a lot more so than other ordinances we come up with. So it will be a process, but we'll come up with something.
So we start our next meeting?
Yeah,
I think we should probably make it a standing agenda item because the year will go by fast. And
did a little
events
bit
that
of
we don't
research
have
and
meetings.
came up with some points of what I thought the discussion would start with, and basically state incentives are already in place, so we're gonna have to go with what's coming our way. They're not gonna provide as many jobs as a normal facility of that size would. And of course, the power grid, water and environmental considerations, how they're cooling, and then whether or not that's gonna impact habitats around here. The land use, community character, and if the ordinance itself becomes the township's main tool for protecting local interests, we need clear performance requirements, and of course, coordinating with state regulations.
Right.
So there's a lot of key points I put out that we can start the discussion with, and I know you have all that knowledge as well.
how a lot of communities are approaching it, they're approaching it as a special land use where sure there might not be, we can't regulate the energy consumption of the facility, but we can ask, well, what are your demand needs? And, a year ago we were coming up with stuff, we had regulation the DTE and Great Lakes Water, they got a sign off. We need a letter from them saying that, this isn't going to affect neighboring properties or future development in the area. And initially, the legal was like, you can't ask that of anyone. Now, because this is just blowing up, this is blown up over the last few months, legal's now saying yeah, that's totally a question you can ask now. So we can ask for a lot of information. We might be able to put a cap on what they tell us, but we can ask for it so we can understand, and that will go into your special land use decision of, is it in character with the neighborhood? Is it protecting the safety of the public? Because those are a part of your public land use standards as well. And if you have concrete information that can help you guys determine if it's appropriate, more information is always better.
Like if the public comes in and says, my utility bill is gonna go up now because you're looking at the center, we have the communication with DTE and all that to
that is supposed to communicate that hopefully, if they claim that it won't, at least the DTE's is at least putting themselves on the line to say that. What will actually happen, I don't know. But if they can explain why it won't and provide more information, that will be helpful in your decision making. But so you can ask for a lot of information. Whether that's information we can actually regulate is a different story, unfortunately. But a lot of communities are approaching it as a special land use in their industrial districts. So at least that's a starting point. And you guys have those things. Some communities don't, so they're really scrambling. You guys have that, so.
So Karen, you're saying we can't really regulate the backup power they use, or if they get some green power, they use green power, we can't regulate that, or?
You could if you wanted to. I don't know how Port Huron Township feels about on-site green power. A lot of communities feel a certain way about utility scale because essentially, even though the power will be for on-site at the data center, it will likely be very similar to a utility scale. Right. And that could have its own effects.
But I'm not like a percentage is what I'm saying. If they go over
if you look
a
at
large amount of
other
energy, say we need 20% renewable,
You could, that's what a lot of other places do. A lot of places require that these buildings be LEED certified, and that's basically like, it's an architectural movement that is supposed to produce more energy efficient buildings. So in theory, maybe it won't be producing as much heat. Maybe there'll be other more sustainable aspects of it. So it's not having such an impact on the environment. But again, if you're asking at the data centers, they're going to have to look at other similar uses in your industrial district. And do you want to ask them to do that too? So yeah.
Got one question here. Again, you bring up this on-site when they make their own electricity. I know that they use jet engines and stuff like that as peakers to generate electricity. So could your noise levels be controlled?
We have a noise ordinance, so it
That's what I
can't be
mean.
something at the property line. You can also require that data centers have, there's other acoustical methods that a lot of these places use. They put up sound walls. They put up other insulating ways to reduce the sound because they're gonna produce it, and they know that. So you can require that they have show these things on their plan, and you can require it to be set back so far. I think right now in your industrial district, some uses, they only gotta be like 30 feet back from the property line. With a data center, you could probably say, I want you to be at least 200 feet from the property line. And they're probably gonna wanna be that. Like, and my planning education class, when they talk about data centers, they're like, these facilities, they're large facilities, they got a lot of equipment. They're gonna want to be away from the street. They're gonna have landscaping, because to be honest, they don't really want other people knowing they're there. They got really expensive equipment. They're gonna wanna secure it. That's not to say that they're not still gonna have an impact that neighbors may feel. But some of these asks might not be as unreasonable as you might think. Like, hey, you gotta be on so much acreage and you gotta be really far away. In general, like, we can't, if the industrial district right now, your sound levels can be 70 decibels at the property line. That's high, but that's not unusual for the industrial district. So we can't put a regulation saying, well, for the sound level for a data center has to be 45 at the property line. That'd be discriminatory, and it goes against your sound ordinance. But stuff like the aesthetical part of the development, you can regulate that. So if you want to be farther back, because there's certain industrial uses you do require, it's got to be farther setback from property lines. It's got to be even farther setback if you're by a residential use, because again, you do have a lot of residential uses in your industrial district, which is going to be an extra challenge for you guys in figuring out how to protect those people. Because a lot of, I think the way your zoning ordinance is crafted, a lot of the stuff is assuming, well, if you're industrial and the property next to you is industrial, you guys are probably businesses. That's not the case in reality. In certain parts, at least. I get calls multiple times a month talking about residential use property that's getting sold, and it's in your industrial district, and people are wondering how do they navigate that. So that's another layer of protection that you guys are going to have to think about.
It seems like a lot of different layers. It could take a long time.
It will take a long time.
Do you have the ability to extend the moratorium if needed?
Yes, it's in the.
You guys can. It possibly could be challenged though, and that's probably a better question for legal. I've always been told moratoriums for 6 months have always stood ground. You can probably ask for a year. Going beyond a year might be tricky, but it really just depends what the nature is going on. And as long as you guys are actively making progress on this thing, that's what they're going to want to see. They don't want communities passing moratoriums and just sitting on it and not doing anything. That's a problem. But if you're actively working towards it, and you're like, we really do need another 5 months.
No, if you have to modify other ordinances,
Right.
zoning.
And it only becomes a problem if someone's trying to apply and you're holding them up. And everyone's worried about it right now. I have not heard of an applicant yet in your community. So, and in all the communities I've worked in, no one right now has an active applicant but everyone's trying to get prepared for that, so.
So the moratoriums are kind of, what other communities are leaning towards too.
Right, yeah, and a moratorium's held up if it is for public health, safety, and welfare, which it is. Like, this is a new, huge, massive use that communities just aren't prepared to handle right
I think you just have to learn, really get at the basics of what they're all about. You know, we're all kind of maybe putting a, trying to figure out when we should really know. You have to do this in order to do this. Well, we got to meet your regulations to do it. So you almost have to know what
and
it's
also
all about.
understanding what does the township have control over,
Yeah.
what's Eagle doing, what's the Public Service Commission doing, because people need to know if we're not regulating this part, then who does? Because they don't want to just leave something open. Like in one community, we were talking about, and a lot of communities are saying, hey, you can't use well water. You have to have some kind of public access to public water, because you can't be sucking stuff up the groundwater and damaging your neighbors, which has been a story that's circulated in other places. What has happened? We have allowed that.
Well, it's interesting because I would think this space they need on some of this might affect more townships other than ours, where they have the space, like a Casco Township or something that's really, they can target that, and they have to really be on the ball for regulation. Like Laura said too, there's a lot of state regulations, like you're saying with
and it's
well
just trying
water,
to figure out who's covering
things.
what, so all
Right.
the bases are covered, and
So a lot of this could be, maybe it's a starting point even is what is regulated by the state, that really.
And I'm sure you'll probably find out
Right.
at the county session tomorrow.
How often does that change?
So let me ask, who is planning on going tomorrow? Okay, all of us. Okay. Great discussion. Great questions. Thank you for all that information, Karen. That's helpful. Appreciate it.
Can I just say that the only reason we've ever canceled a meeting is when there's no agenda item.
Yeah.
We have nothing to come and discuss, and that's the only reason the meeting ever is canceled.
And I do.
And I'm sure.
Thanks, Laura. Yeah. Okay, we are on to final agenda item reports. Karen, anything more from the township board? Planning-wise? Okay. Trustee Reno, anything to share?
There's a few things that we're gonna have a new pavilion out back here.
Oh.
I think it's to the side of the museum.
It's gonna be where the schoolhouse is, sorry, John, where the schoolhouse is, between there and the pole barn.
Mm-hmm.
The thrasher machines inside the pole barn will come out and be displayed for everybody to see, and then the pole barn will be used for the township storage.
Mm-hmm.
But the pole barn, or the pavilion, we've got the cement, we've got the electrical, and we've had a couple grants. The electrical and the cement have all been donated. So the gentleman out at Wadham's, the cement company out there, I can't remember what his name. High Grade.
John.
Yeah, John at High Grade, and then Scott with Extreme Power have donated complete electrical for everything. So
The DDA has been a little involved with that too, with Randy, working on it. So.
yes.
That was one thing. That's a great
Is that
thing.
right?
And
I
then
didn't I didn't know he was involved.
How was it
fire
involved?
department
No.
updated
I've been involved.
there's a state mutual aid agreement that you have to have. If you have a major disaster, you can pull from any facility in the state rather than just your neighbor.
I know Randy's brought it up at the DDA. I know that. I go to. I'm a member.
Dawn and I got the
I
grant.
remember the DDA. So
Dawn and I got the grant though.
yes,
He did.
well, I'm not saying he did, but he's brought it up in our meetings.
Mhm.
You can question me on that, but I just know that he's brought it up in our meetings.
The other one we got is Enbridge. We're gonna have some benches and trash containers at Bakersfield. Ember.
They're just donating that as a grant or
It's a donation.
Okay.
Yep.
like along the new trail part?
I'm sorry.
Along the new trail
Yes.
part?
Yeah, it's a new walking track. And the only other thing is that you need a new floor in the fire hall. I'm gonna do that.
Mm.
It's a terrazzo. I don't know if you know that.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna resurface that. It's falling apart. Other than that, that's all I got.
Okay, and
ZBA meeting, was on the 19th of March. They had the two items for budget storage. They approved the 24-foot wide drive pending fire chief approval. And they approved the setback of, rear setback of 10 feet.
Okay.
I'm not sure what other meeting for the ZBA coming up.
so you're on the DDA committee? Okay, should that be a report that we should add to our agenda? Is that been done in the past? I don't know, it seems like that's probably be a good update to get.
If you say it, I'll make it happen.
Okay, do you wanna give those updates?
Good, we can get them from, we meet 4 times a year, so.
Okay, so when there is an update?
Yeah. we can do that.
Alright, let's put that on the agenda and then when I meet, okay, I'd be interested.
Randy's go-getter. Our meetings are, they're interesting, they're long, longer than they were, because he's got some connections and stuff. So.
Things in the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
I will just add, I don't know if everybody here got the email or saw an email about the township's 200th anniversary. It's coming up in 2027. So they are looking for representatives from the various boards, committees, commissions, departments to be on their bicentennial planning committee. So it's a pretty significant event. It's going to happen in 2027. That's pretty exciting, and I'm glad the township is recognizing and celebrating that. So if anybody's interested in joining the bicentennial planning committee, they ask that you email or talk to Supervisor Lewandowski by June 15th. So 11 months to think about it. Yeah, it's exciting. Anything else for reports? Anything else for the greater good? All right. Motion to adjourn. All right. That was my motion. I made a motion. Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Thanks, everybody.